This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on strides in the space sector. The participants are Pallava Bagla, science communicator, and Chetan Chauhan, journalist.
Pallav, I wanted to ask the first thing, what is the biggest achievement of ISRO's launch? It is a commercial wing of ISRO which have ventured into this space for the first time. So how do you rate today's launches?
There are many new facets to today's launch of the geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle Mark III, which is India's heavyweight launcher, which is now rechristened as Launch Vehicle Mark III. Yes, you rightly said it is commercial launch. It launched 36 satellites for OneWeb, which is going to provide internet through satellites. But this is also the first commercial launch for the launch vehicle Mark III. So it marks the beginning of India's heavyweight launcher, which sometimes, because of its capability, I have christened as Bahubali. It is now into the commercial market, and with this successful launch, this particular rocket is now available to compete for launches across the world. This launch was very significant because India, in a way, snatched this launch out of the hands of many other competitors and moved very quickly to grab this launch. So there were many firsts in this launch, and India has come out shining well on Diwali. It's a wonderful gift for the nation to have a very large rocket go up from Sriharikota, perform its job with precision, and give India a very happy Diwali gift.
Pallav rightly said it is a Diwali gift for Indians because it is one of the very successful launches. But as we know that these launches got to happen from Russia because the company which has launched the satellite, they had an agreement with the Russian satellite government organization. But because of the Ukraine war, India got an opportunity. So do you think that after this, many other countries will join hands with the commercial wing of ISRO and launch more satellites?
In the past, whenever geopolitical situations have arisen, India has not been able to grab those opportunities. Today, what I see is a very nimble Indian space research organization. When this geopolitical situation arose and OneWeb was kind of left without a launcher from the Russian launch market, the Indians offered the launcher, or OneWeb came to them, and they were able to provide everything in a matter of 3 or 4 months. So it shows several things. One, that India is very nimble in the geopolitical situation to grab the opportunity. Two, it also shows that India's rocket scientists are capable of delivering a rocket at a quick turnaround time. So overall, it augurs very well as a debut into the commercial launch market for India using the launch vehicle Mark III. So this particular launcher, which has now been redesignated from geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle Mark III to launch vehicle Mark III, is essentially because it's a versatile rocket which can do many things. It can launch low Earth orbit satellites like it has done for OneWeb. It can launch communication satellite into the geosynchronous satellite launch slot. It can also send interplanetary missions because it was this particular rocket, a variant of this, which was used for launching India's Chandrayaan-2 mission. So it is a versatile rocket. It is a frugal rocket. It is cost effective. And I'm sure here onwards, we will see many players coming to India because India offers a very competitive rate for launching satellites into space.
Pallav, also with this, the Chandrayaan-3 launch, which is expected next year, this has been seen as a precursor to that. And with this, I think the confidence of the scientific community for the launch will be much, much more that Chandrayaan-3, India will be able to launch it successfully in the next year. So how do you think that today's launch is sort of a launch pad for Chandrayaan-3?
In Chandrayaan-3, it was actually the lander and the rover which failed. So the rocket did its job. It sent the orbiter along with the lander and rover in its womb into the correct orbit towards moon. The orbiter continues to function around the moon. Now, Chandrayaan 3 is going to be launched using the same launch vehicle Mark 3. And in this particular launch, the orbiter is going to be a minimal, but the lander and rover have been made more robust. Yes, so Chandrayaan 3 is a launch which India and the world is going to look forward to, but we should wait because still the lander and the rover both are cooking in the stable of the Indian Space Research Organization. And when they are ready, and now there is competing interest for the rocket. See, there are not just science missions, there will also be commercial launches which will come the way for the Indian Space Research Organization to provide a slot. So there will be competing interests. So let us see how the Indian Space Research Organization can accommodate the launch of Chandrayaan 3. They are saying it will be sometime in 2023, but let's wait and watch.
Pallav, can you tell us more about Aditya 1 also? Because it is also one of the major projects for ISRO in the coming years, especially 2023.
Sure. Aditya is India's satellite which will study the sun. It will be India's first satellite to study the sun. It's not a satellite which will go all the way to the sun. It will be launched somewhere close to the earth, and from there it will keep a sharp eye on the sun to understand the science and the way solar storms emerge from the sun. So Aditya 1 is an important mission for India, not just to study science, but also to keep track of the solar storms which can at times create havoc in our communication systems and in our power system. So Aditya 1 is one scientific mission which the Indian Space Research Organization is gearing to launch. So there is a thought process that it will be launched soon. But again, we'll have to wait and watch what the exact slot is. But this will really be India's first mission to try and understand some of the science of the sun.
Pallav, I think the ISRO's journey in the last 7-8 years have been extremely marvelous, and they have moved their feet very fast in the space research area sector and as well as the commercial exploitation of the space. Because as you know, coming year, the satellite, the space will be a major area of commercial venture because the satellites are being launched, which will provide a seamless internet connection. Also in the future, the mobile phones likely to be linked with the satellites. So how do you think that the ISRO is ready for the journey? So if you can tell our listeners how the ISRO has progressed in 7-8 years and what is the future plan of ISRO?
ISRO is an organization which I call is an island of excellence. And whichever government has been in power has supported the space program. And of late, we have seen once ISRO had come of age, meaning once they had satellite capability of making satellite, capability of making rockets, launching them, the next stage was that India should make them available in the commercial space market, which has been the thrust of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. There was this opening up of the space sector, which happened a couple of years ago. And in that, the thrust has been that not just the government, but the private sector also participate in launching satellite assets. So plenty of startups, I'm told about 100 plus startups are gearing up to do different activities. Similar way, many private organizations are now waiting to tap into the opportunity to use the extremely good facilities created at taxpayers' money at the Indian Space Research Organization. So all of this is essentially leading up to the point where India should become a competitive player in the multi-billion-dollar satellite and rocket market of the world. Today, it is dominated by players from America, Russia, and Europe. And India is now making an entry. And let's not forget, China offers a lot of competition as well. So India's rockets and satellites are made at very minimal cost. So the cost of launching into space from India would be very competitive. And the Indian rocket port at Sriharikota is also placed so close to the equator that you get very precise and good orbits if there is a correct launch from Sriharikota into space. So there are many things which are in favor of India, and the time is right for India to tap into the large commercial space market. We also have the workhorse rocket, the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle being readied, where it will be now fabricated with the support of the private sector, and one will see launches being done by a consortium of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and Larsen and Toubro. So this would be another step towards active commercialization of India's rockets. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi has placed a lot of emphasis on making use of India's capabilities so that a lot of wealth can flow into India and to Indians.
How do you think that the space research or the space sector is some sort of a job creator also?
Certainly, as commercialization of the space industry in India is happening, the opening up of this space sector has been initiated. The sector has been unlocked by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. There are plenty of job opportunities. 100 plus startups are now working actively to provide services. So they are offering jobs to scores of talented youngsters who can now compete and actually aim to be Indian SpaceXs, or sometimes whom I call the Brahmand X from India. So there are plenty of job opportunities, and space offers opportunities for all disciplines of engineering and science. So from mechanical to electrical to aeronautical to people who are systems designers, all of them can find, and this is a very lucrative area. So if you are a specialist engineer looking for a good opportunity, today is the time to look at the Indian space sector as your place for working, and there is no better place today than India for a growth of the space industry.
Pallava, this launch, how do you rate it? What is its real significance?
Certainly, this launch of launch vehicle Mark III, which is a consecutively successful launch of this rocket, is very significant in several things. It also marks a very important first step towards India trying to go to for its Gaganyaan program, because it offers an opportunity for Indian scientists to work and master the launch vehicle Mark III, which is going to be the preferred rocket for Gaganyaan. So this particular launch, not only does it pave the way for commercial space market, it paves the way for scientific missions in very soon for launching of an Indian astronaut from Indian soil on an Indian rocket by India. So there are many, many significant things which came out of this particular launch.
Pallava, all the telecom companies in the world globally, they are putting up satellites in space because in future, both the television, the DTH, the internet, through one platform will be available. The mobile connectivity will also be through space. So it is a huge, huge sector for the companies, and almost all the big companies have invested in this sector. And ISRO coming into it. So do you think that is ISRO prepared for this sort of a commercial market which will be available in the next few years?
This particular launch of the launch vehicle Mark III carried small satellites. There were 36 satellites which weigh about 150 kilograms. And there are thousands of small satellites waiting to be launched, because OneWeb is not the only company. SpaceX is also planning to have a satellite-based internet program. Similarly, there are several other players who are wanting to have Earth imaging satellites launched in a very big way. So we have the launch vehicle Mark III, which is a very heavyweight launcher which can launch many, many satellites. Then India is also placing the small satellite launch vehicle, the SSLV, in the market very soon. So end-to-end capabilities for low Earth orbiting satellites are now going to be available with the Indian Space Research Organization, and very soon Agnikul, it's a startup incubated by Indian Institute of Technology Madras, which is also gearing up to launch its first rocket. Again, a launch on demand kind of stuff. So the whole area is revving up, and I am particularly excited about what is going to happen in the next few years in the Indian space sector. It has a very bright future.
Thanks a lot, Pallava. It was really nice talking to you.
Thanks a lot.
You were listening to a discussion on strides in the space sector. The participants were Pallava Bagla, science communicator, and Chetan Chauhan, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks communicator@gmail.com.